Dun 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 dun. The bonus round. This is High Performance Training PST, the bonus round. First of all, I just want to say I think you got to have fun in life, and I think it's important to recognize fun actually is a part of all high performance training plans, whether you're talking about being in school, or you're talking about making an athletic team, or you're talking about working your life. High performance training carries over into all aspects of your life, and I want you to understand that you need to have fun while you're doing it. If you can make high performance training fun, now you will understand that it is not something that is a burden. It is something that is going to help you enhance everything that you're trying to do, and you'll see that there's a lot of carryover value. However, what I want to talk about today in this bonus round is brick by brick. I'm going to give you a couple examples of my life so you can see how it may be similar in your life. And I gave you some examples before about looking for examples and looking for challenges, and we've talked about the various different psychological skills training that includes focus, goals, self-talks, performance planning, building a mental routine, and some of the other things like training logs and monitoring. Okay, so that's like a lot of information there, and brick by brick suggests that you do not need to do it all at once. And I guess the metaphor, the analogy for brick by brick is when they build a house. If you want the long form of a house, here's how it goes. They draw up blueprints, and you could say those would be the goals. They get several different types of contractors. Maybe one's an electrician, maybe one's a carpenter, maybe one's a builder. They all sort of work together, and the house is not generally built overnight. It takes several months, if not years, to put together a house. And I guess the analogy or the metaphor is brick by brick. They put one brick at a time into the house, and then the house is completed. Okay, so what's the point there? What's the point of that story? The idea behind that is with high performance training PST, if we use the brick by brick idea, we don't have to get it all at once, right? We can take several months, if not years, to develop these crucial skills. Now, in a long-term athlete development plan, it could take 6 or 7 years, right? If you looked at the plan of high schools or the United States of America educational system, it's like a 13-year plan, isn't it? And if you go to college, it's even longer. So I think you got to look at it in those terms. When I say brick by brick and I look at a long-term athletic development plan, or I look at the USA educational system, they don't tell 3-year-olds, okay, you're going to be a high school graduate next year or next month or tomorrow. They lay out the plan, and they suggest that brick by brick, year by year, day by day, month by month, week by week, if you do the things that are required per the curriculum, per this grade group, per your age, now you will, be able to assess what's going on, meaning you'll be able to understand and kind of evaluate and review in brick by brick, year by year, day by day, month by month, week by week, minute by minute, second by second. You can develop the skills that are appropriate for first graders, then sixth graders, then ninth graders, then 12th graders, etc. So I'm using, again, that analogy with long-term development to suggest that that's kind of how this brick by brick metaphor works, meaning, again, you don't have to get it all done at once. And earlier, right in the beginning of this, if you want to call it the intro, I suggested I'll give you some examples from my life, and here are a couple of them. When I was, I want to say 19 or 20, I discovered psychological skills training books and videos and motivational speakers and all sorts of self-help things for my mind that I did not even realize were there. Again, I say I discovered because they were there. I just wasn't aware that they were there. So once I discovered they were there, man, it's like I wanted to do it all. And tomorrow I wanted to read, 300 or 400 books in a month's time, or, by the end of the year, I'll have listened to all of these different tapes, audio notes, and this and that. And I was very gung-ho. I was very eager. And that's the typical response I see with many athletes. And they seem to believe that they can get everything at once. And again, I gave you those stories with the long-term athletic development plan and the USA educational system to suggest that, it takes months, if not years, to graduate from high school. It can take months, if not years, to become a master of sport, right? And it can take months, if not years, to master some of these psychological skills training that we're talking about. All of that is to say, brick by brick, take them one at a time. Getting back to my story, it can become frustrating if you set a goal that's too high. And we kind of talked about that in SMART goals. If you watch one of the other videos that we've presented to you, if a goal is unattainable, meaning maybe it's too far away from your grasp at this point, at that particular time in your life, that can become frustrating, which is demotivating, which means you may not continue on that path. What I'm suggesting here is I'm giving you a clue way before. Maybe you listen to this bonus round, brick by brick, before you've listened to any of the other audio notes with regard to high performance training PST. That's fine. What I'm suggesting is, if you've listened to this at the end, go back and listen to it again. And then maybe this becomes, like I've been suggesting all along, this can become a part of your training routine, your training regime, your training, period, right? Again, most athletic people that are on teams train, if they're trying to reach the highest level in their sport, they're training year-round. So I suggest, and I have to say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, while you're training with your sport-specific team, this high-performance training PST can become a part of your normal routine, meaning maybe you listen to one of these audio notes per day. That way, it can become ingrained. That way, you can build your high-performance training PST brick by brick in a way that will sustain whatever level you're at and perhaps enhance your excellence. One of the other ideas that is important for the brick by brick metaphor or brick by brick analogy is consistency. In order to build a house, you need several different people, you need plans, you need action, right? So consistency to me means action, means persistently and continuously striving towards your goal, if you will. So one of the other things that can happen along with becoming frustrated sometimes is, and this we talked about this a little bit with goals, you'll start and you'll stop, meaning you get frustrated and you stop because maybe the goal was unattainable, it was out of your reach, you didn't feel like you achieved what you needed to do in that amount of time. I say just reset another goal. I mean, we didn't talk about that a whole lot, but sometimes if the goal is out of your reach, set another goal, and be consistent with that. Follow through. Maybe you give it more than 1 hour or 1 day or 1 minute to achieve that goal. Now, tying your shoe, on the other hand, that's unless there's some other things going on, typically most people can tie their shoe in less than 30 seconds. And I would not suggest that be a goal that is a long-term goal. On the other hand, graduating from high school when you're a third grader, that's nearly impossible. And that could be unattainable. And I gave that drastic, other side or a different way of looking at it, because a third grader can never be a 12th grader. And I never say never. I mean, there's probably 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 1% of the population of third graders would be able to graduate from 12th grade, so they're in a different category. The other 99% are gonna, it's gonna take them 8 or 9 or 10 years, to get to the next level. So I'm suggesting that if you look at it in that way, your frustration level will actually come down. Sometimes you may need to reset your goal. When you're using the brick by brick metaphor and analogy, you understand that it is going to take time and you're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to be consistent. If you are, now You understand that it's going to take some time to graduate from high school. You understand that it's going to take some time for you to get, and just using numbers in terms of age, from a 3-year-old to a 10-year-old, right? That takes 7 years, no matter how you look at it. I'm just giving you different examples so that when you take a look at the High Performance Training PST, you understand that it is something that is going to take time for you to master, just like graduating from high school would be. Basically 13 years just from like a 3-year-old going to a 10-year-old. Basically, that's going to take 7 years, and this is the same sort of thing. The other idea is it has to be consistent. Even though I've said that, I'm going to say, give you a different definition for consistent, meaning you have to continuously do it. So training and education are very similar in as much as if you stop training and if you stop educating yourself, you actually, you cease from growing. From an athletic sense and a sporting sense, if you stop training, you really do lose your fitness level. You really do lose your form. You really do use your strength. And earlier I gave you an analogy with strength and conditioning, which suggests that the strength portion of you doing anything is your ability to get better at it or get stronger at it. The conditioning portion of it is you going over it again and again and again. So high performance training suggests that you're going to continue to train just like you would with your sport specific sense, just like you would with your high performance training, just like you would with your education in the USA educational system. Again, once you stop training, once you start becoming educated, you tend to lose some of the information that you've learned. And I put that in there because, again, brick by brick means that it's going to take time. And then we have to continue to do it with consistency and action in order for it to become something that is a part of us. I'll throw one more thing at you so that you can get a clear picture, although you may already get it, but I want to reemphasize it over and over again because I think sometimes people stop doing things for whatever the reasons are, and I get it. If you were training, I'm going to give you 3 examples. If you were training for a marathon and, let's say you've got, I don't know how long it takes to train for a marathon if you never run one, but let's say you give yourself a year to train for one. So you give yourself a full year and you're working with a coach and you design smart goals and you understand the volume and intensity and basically the periodization that will take for you to get from point A to point B, and then you only really train for 1 month, right? You train that first month, now you've got 11 months to go, and then you don't train at all for 11 months, and then when the marathon comes up, you run it, and then you don't do as well as you thought. Now that's kind of a silly story, but can you see the point there? Where if you've given yourself, basically 12 months to train for a marathon and you only train for 1 month, is it realistic that you will attain your goal? Probably not, because you didn't do the training, you didn't continue, and you weren't persistent, and there was no action to sustain or realize your goal. Another example would be with weight. In weight class sports, you typically have to make a weight. And I'll use this one because it's probably near and dear to most people that are wrestlers anyway. You set a goal of making a specific weight and you start the night before, even though you've had 3 months to try to, attain to realize the goal that you were doing for the weight class. If you start the night before, let's say you're 15 or 16 pounds over, 3 months out, but you wait until the night before. Now again, that's kind of a silly story, but can you see the point I'm making there? You did not do the training required because you waited until the last minute to attain your goal. Now you're going to put yourself in a predicament. I'm suggesting that training is the same way. High Performance Training PST is the same way as well, where if we have a tournament or if we've got an event or if we've got anything going on and we wait until the 24th hour to really attain the goal and realize the process of the goal. The process of the goal means all the steps it takes to realize or get to the outcome. If you do the process and realize your goal in 1 day or try to, I think you set yourself up for frustration. I just gave all those stories so that you will understand that to be a brick by brick mentality, or use the brick by brick metaphor and analogy, not only do we have to consistently do it and go one step at a time and understand that there may be some setbacks built in there, but we have to consistently do it again and again and again, just like you would be doing if you were in a periodized plan where ultimately you're peaking for said tournament that's going to happen in June. prior to it, probably you've got 9, 10, or 11 months of training to lead up to that point. And again, I'm re-emphasizing it. I'm saying it over and over and over again. The high performance training PST has to be the same way in order for you to realize the brick by brick idea, metaphor, mentality, so that you will be able to understand. Again, I want to just say one more thing with the fun, because I started off with the fun and then I kind of went into the training theory and my ideas with regard to the brick by brick mentality. I think it's important for you to have fun along the way too. You've got to make it fun, right? Earlier on, I gave you in some of the other talks analogies or stories with regard to making games out of things, so that in your mind, and ultimately this whole talk is about doing things with your mind, you can make it fun by making it a challenge, making yourself believe that if I do this, this is going to be fun for me and I'm ultimately going to have fun. You have to learn how to, take losses and setbacks for what they're worth. Take the meaning out of them to suggest that, okay, I need to go back to work, and then make it fun. It doesn't have to be so frustrating that you're upset. Be like, oh, well, I did my very best. Oh, this is what a great opportunity for me to start over. So I'm using a little bit of self-talk there. I'm using a little bit of imagery as well to suggest that we can make things fun if we understand we can change the meaning, and we understand that it is going to take some time for us to achieve our goals. Brick by brick, the bonus day, the bonus round.